hi there. Today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Insta360 One RS action camera and how it compares to the good old faithful GoPro Hero 10 Black. All right, let's go. Hello friends, today we're going to be talking about action cameras. And if you've been following my channel for any length of time, you might know that I use a lot of action cameras. On a daily basis, I probably use an action camera for one thing or another. And honestly, every modern action camera is pretty good by today's standards. However, I'm still in search of the perfect action camera for my use case. My use case being hiking, trail running, spending time in the mountains, adventures in the outdoors, things like that. And up until this point, I've basically been carrying two different action cameras for this use case. One being the GoPro Hero 10 Black that basically goes everywhere with me, and the Insta360 One X2 for my 360 footage. And having both of these is a really versatile setup. However, it's a little bit annoying because they don't share batteries, they don't share accessories. The Insta360 One RS aims to sort of bridge the gap between something like a GoPro and something like the Insta360 One X2 into one camera that can do just about everything. And in this video, I want to share my thoughts on the Insta360 One RS after using this camera for about 2 weeks now. I'll be sharing what I like about this thing, some things I don't like so much about it, and I'll also be sharing a ton of comparison footage between the One RS and the GoPro Hero 10 Black because these two have a lot in common. Before we move on though, I do want to mention that this video is not sponsored by Insta360 at all, so I plan on giving you my full unbiased opinion. This video is, however, sponsored by my friends over at RidgeWallet. With Father's Day coming up just around the corner, I'm sure you, just like me, are looking for the perfect gift for that dad in your life. Look no further. Let's take it out of the box so you can get a look at it. The RidgeWallet is a super cool and unique take on a traditional wallet that promotes a minimalistic lifestyle of carrying only what you need. There are a ton of materials, styles, accessories, and colors to choose from, and my personal favorite is this forged carbon. I think it's actually carbon fiber on the outside here. The RidgeWallet is low profile and fits in any pocket and even has RFID blocking technology along with a lifetime warranty. And if you are interested in the RidgeWallet, check out the links in the description down below because that will give you 15% off your order by using code CTS at checkout. Thank you RidgeWallet for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to the video. First things first, let's take a look at what comes in the box. I hate unboxing, so we'll make this quick. Up top here, we've got the camera itself. You've got the brain or core on the right side and the 4K boost mod lens on the right here. Below that, we've got the 360 mod, and I'll talk about this in a little bit. Then we've got the battery below that, and we've got a little accessory box below that. Inside the accessory box, we get a USB Type-C charging cable, nothing fancy there. And then we've got the cage to the One RS. We've also got a lens cap to the 360 mod. You can see it just pops right over the top of it. And this is critically important. It seems like a simple thing, but it's very important, and you'll find out why later in this video. Cool, let's get rid of the box now, and we'll just focus on the good stuff inside the box. All right, so as you can see, there's a bunch of components in front of me here, and that's because, like I said, this is a modular design camera. So you can basically pop this thing apart and put it back together again, depending on what style or what application you're doing. So there's a lot of versatility here because you can take this thing apart and put it together again, but more importantly, you can actually take the 4K boost lens off and you can replace it with the Insta360 360 lens, which does have two lenses on it. And when I put the battery back on, now you've got a full-blown 360 action camera. Okay, now that I've unboxed this thing, I forgot to mention what kit this is. This is called the Insta360 Twin Kit. So this comes with the action camera mod, the 360 mod, and all of the accessories you see here for the price of $549 US. I should mention that at the time of releasing this video, there is a sale on Insta360's website called the Summer Sale. I'll have it linked in the description down below if you're interested. That will give you $20 off, I think, on this kit, but you'll see why that price tag, it does sound expensive, is actually a decent value when we get closer to the end of this video. One big upgrade to the One RS compared to the older One R is the cage that actually helps you mount the camera to different accessories. So as you can see here, we have the cage, and if I push this little red button, the cage actually pops open. It's actually spring-loaded, and a little door opens up on the side. Now I can take my camera and I can actually slide the camera in from the side, push this down and lock it into place, and I'm good to go. This is so much easier than the old design, which had like a clamshell front and back and a clasp on top. In terms of size and weight, you can see here that the GoPro is a little bit smaller than the Insta360 One RS, but again, it does not require a cage, which takes up a little bit space on the One RS. So the big upgrade on the Insta360 One RS is the inclusion of this new 4K boost mod and lens. This new component has a 1/2 inch imaging sensor, which is actually twice as big as the older One R's imaging sensor. It can shoot 48 megapixel stills, which is kind of crazy, and it can record up to 4K at 60 frames per second for slow motion, or up to 1080p 200 frames per second for super slow motion. Now let's talk about the 360 mod. This is a different lens. Again, it has dual camera lenses on it, and this actually forms a spherical image. So imagine a spherical image of everything around you. It misses nothing. So as you can see here, I've got the Insta360 One RS, and I've got the invisible selfie stick attached. And because the stick is actually thinner than the camera itself, it stays between the lenses of the 360 mod, and thereby it's not in the video at all. It's invisible. And this illusion is super cool. It makes it look like your camera's kind of floating around you. It looks like a drone is flying around you while you're doing your activity. It just becomes, it's mind-blowing. If you show this footage to anyone, they're like, how'd you do that? Okay, enough blabbing about the numbers with this camera and the specs. I think what I consider most important about the Insta360 One RS is the Insta360 4K boost mod that came included with it. And I wanted to see how this compared to the GoPro Hero 10 Black in a side-by-side comparison. So to test out the new Insta360 One RS compared to my old trusty GoPro Hero 10 Black, I brought both cameras out on a 10-mile trail run to just record what was going on. And to make things fair, I had both cameras mounted to the same selfie stick using a little adapter. I'll show that on screen. And that way, stabilization and audio and everything else should be about equal. After reviewing the footage between these two cameras side by side, I've got a few observations. First of all, the Insta360 colors are a little bit cooler. Everything looks a little bit bluer and less saturated, while the GoPro Hero 10 Black tends to be oversaturated and a little bit warmer. And it really depends on your taste and what you prefer. I kind of float in between. On some shots, I prefer the Insta360 colors and footage, and on other shots, I like the GoPro footage. It's up to you to decide. Okay, right now we're gonna do a quick audio test between the GoPro Hero 10 Black and the Insta360 One RS with the 4K boost mod. I don't know if that affects the audio quality at all. I'm gonna assume it does not, but I thought it would be worth mentioning. So right now, we're filming in 4K 30p on both of these cameras. It's a little bit windy out right now, although I am in the trees, but you can hear a gust coming in right now. And I want to see what kind of audio quality I can expect from the Insta360 One RS, because generally speaking, I've had pretty good luck with the GoPro Hero 10 Black when it comes to audio quality. When it comes to image quality between these two, it's really close. They're both very good, very sharp, very clear, really no complaints between the two. When it comes to dynamic range, I feel like, again, they're very similar. The sky on both images looks really well exposed, even when I'm in frame. The background wasn't blown out or anything like that, and the shadow detail was really good. I think they're about the same when it comes to dynamic range, and that's probably because they have the same size imaging sensor. And when it came to battery life, this was an area I was really surprised about. They're about the same. So I took these both out at a full charge. I did a bunch of recording and I was out running around for 10 miles. And when I came back, I noticed that both batteries were at about 74, 75%. So I used about a quarter of the battery and it was about equal on both. So initially I recorded everything, like I said, in the ultra wide mode on the Insta360 One RS using the built-in stabilization without the app. So I was not exporting through the Insta360 app. And when I compared the footage from the Insta360 One RS to my GoPro, the GoPro looked a lot more stable in just about every situation. So I did some digging and I noticed that on the Insta360 One RS, if you're in that ultra wide mode where you're using the most of the sensor, the stabilization gets a little bit worse. So it's not taking out every bump and jitter. And if you move the camera a lot, it will jerk around a little bit. However, if you zoom in a little bit to what they call action or wide angle mode, which is still very wide, the stabilization becomes incredibly smooth and it's very similar, almost exactly the same as the GoPro Hero 10 Black's Hyper Smooth Stabilization. Another interesting quirk is I really like the idea of the built-in camera stabilization. I didn't want to export everything through the app, and I'll talk about why in a little bit, but I did notice that if you do use the stabilization in the phone app rather than the camera stabilization, it's better. You can do regular stabilization, you can zoom in and out, and you can also turn on horizon lock, which means as you turn the camera, the horizon stays stable. It doesn't move around, and that makes the footage look incredibly smooth, like it's on a gimbal or a drone or something like that. It's really impressive. Okay, with all of that said, let's talk about some of the pros and cons of the Insta360 One RS. First, I'm gonna start with the things I like. I like that this thing is just improved across the board overall compared to the older One R. I also really like the versatility of this camera, and that's kind of what it's all about. The fact that I have one camera, two different kinds of lenses, I can bring multiple batteries along, and now I've got a whole system. I don't have to bring multiple cameras, multiple batteries. I also really like the image quality and colors on this camera. Even though it's a little different than the GoPro, it does look really good, and if you're not comparing the two side by side, it's a really nice image overall in both 360 mode and the action camera mode. Both produce really nice images. I also really like the battery life of about 75 minutes in 4K mode, and the fact that additional batteries are affordable. You can buy an additional battery for about $29, which isn't bad. And on that note, I really like the interchangeability from the older One R components in this new One RS. It means if you have an older camera, you can buy this new camera, mix and match components, and you're good to go. And finally, I really like the app that comes along with this camera on your phone. That's the Insta360 app. You can download your footage to it, you can edit your footage, you can reframe your shot if you're using the 360 mod. It does a lot, and it's really easy to use. It's very, very polished. There's not a lot of glitches or hiccups. It's a great app overall. But it's not all sunshine and roses. There are a few things I don't like about the Insta360 One RS. First of all, switching mods. This is probably the biggest downside to this camera. I'm a trail runner, I'm a hiker, I'm a climber, I'm somebody who does not want to fiddle with things on the trail. So when I have my GoPro and my Insta360 One X2 here, I take out the camera that I want to use depending on the application. So if I'm running and I'm just running along and I want to get some shots in front of me or behind me, I can bring out my GoPro, hit record, get the shots, put it away. And then if I want 360 footage, I can keep running, pull this camera out on a selfie stick, get some 360 footage, and then put it away. Now, on the Insta360 One RS, because it's a modular camera, if I'm shooting with my 4K footage here and I just want action camera shots, I'm running along, I can't quickly jump over to a 360 camera because I gotta take the camera apart to put the 360 mod on the camera. So then I'm opening up the cage, I'm pulling the camera out, I'm taking off the battery, I'm putting things on the ground because I don't have anything around me to put it on. Then I'm putting on the 360 mod. And keep in mind, I may be in a timed event where I'm running, competing or something. And then I gotta put the camera back in the cage and take the lens cap off. And there, now I'm good to go. Now I'm being dramatic here. That didn't take a lot of time, but in certain situations, could be maybe you're climbing, you're tied off to the side of a mountain, you're at a belay station. This is the last thing you want to worry about. You don't want to be fiddling with your camera, trying to put things together to get that shot. With the GoPro and X2 combination, I can just get the shot and put them away. But for most people, I don't know if that's a downside. If you're just using this on a vacation, on a holiday, maybe you're out on a boat or at the beach with your family, it's not a big deal to take the thing apart, swap lenses, and put it back together again. The next thing I don't love about the Insta360 One RS and the 360 footage specifically is the in-app processing. I know I just mentioned that I really like the app. I don't love the fact that I have to process all of my footage if I use the 360 mod. Now the app is really nice, I already said that, but it means if you've got an hour of footage and there's like 20 different clips, you've got to export each one of those individually on your phone, and that does take a lot of time. And I feel like this is something a lot of people overlook, and when you start using this camera and you're using it like as much as I do, that becomes a lot of time spent in the app. So for me, I use the 360 mod sparingly because I don't want to deal with the app after every time I use it. Again, it's hard to say that this is a con. It is a con for me because it does take a lot of time, but it's unavoidable because it's a 360 camera. Another thing I don't love about the 360 mod is just how fragile it is. If you look at this camera, you'll notice that the extents of the camera right now are glass lenses. If I put this down, it's resting on the glass. And that is the case everywhere. So if I'm rock climbing and put this on a rock, if I'm trail running and put this down on the dirt, the first thing to touch the ground is gonna be a glass lens. On the upside, Insta360 does sell these little sticky lens guards that you can put on the camera, and these are supposed to protect the lenses from being scratched if you're doing something like rock climbing. Another minor complaint I have with the One RS is this little SD card door on the side here is really hard to open. Basically, it's got this little latch on it. You gotta use your thumbnail or fingernail to open. You gotta peel it open, and sometimes it doesn't open all the way. It's just a little bit fiddly. I know it's a minor thing, but I'm trying to cover everything here. Another minor complaint that I'll mention about the One RS is it's really inconvenient that the display does not flip around. So before you hit record, you need to decide if you want your display on the back or on the front of the camera for like a vlog mode, because if you need to flip it around, you need to disassemble the camera, pop it back together again, put your battery back on, and now you're good to go. And then if you film something, you're doing a vlog and you want to turn the camera around again, now your display's only on the front and you don't have one on the back. With all that said, let's get into the final thoughts and who this camera's for. I really wanted this camera to be the only camera I needed. I wanted to throw this thing in my bag with the 360 mod, head out into the trails, and then have everything I need to capture epic footage to make my YouTube videos. Now, unfortunately, because of the fact that you have to disassemble it and reassemble it every time you want to switch cameras, that's not entirely the case. But I can say this camera has a huge market. If you're somebody traveling, you're going to the beach with your kids, you're going on vacation, somebody who's maybe a mountain biker or something like that, where you're not always switching between the lenses or 360 and 4K mode, I think this camera will suit a lot of people's needs, and it's super versatile because you've got the option to go 360 mode or standard action camera mode. And I think for me, the best solution would be to have two of these cameras. So I could have one RS suited with the 4K boost mod, and then another one with the 360 mod, have them both separately in my backpack, maybe with two different selfie sticks or something, and be able to pull one out individually to be able to get the kind of footage I'm looking for. However, for vloggers, casual enthusiasts, people traveling, this is a super versatile camera to throw in your suitcase or backpack and just about film anything you want to do. And I tell you what, I will be using this camera moving forward on a lot of these YouTube videos, so keep an eye out for that. And now I want to hear from you. Are you interested in the Insta360 One RS? Are you going to get one of these things, or are you just going to stick with the GoPro Hero 10 Black? Let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear from you. That's all I've got for this one. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please consider leaving a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel down below, because that really helps me out and helps my channel grow. Also, if you're interested in picking up an Insta360 One RS or even a GoPro Hero 10 Black, I'll have links in the description down below that do help support my channel, and they'll be linked over to the best pricing available. And that's it. I think I'm done now. Yeah, I'm done. Okay, bye.